Something huge just broke in one of the world's most critical waterways. And right now, the President of the United States is standing at a NATO summit in Turkey, telling reporters that Iran's ceasefire is over. 3 commercial ships were attacked. The U.S. struck back with more than 80 military hits. And everything that months of diplomacy built may be burning right alongside those tankers. Here's what we actually know. The name Iran is sitting at the top of search right now because just hours ago, President Trump stepped in front of cameras at a NATO summit in Ankara, Turkey, and said, and this is a direct quote, "I think it's over. I don't want to deal with them anymore. They're scum." He also called Iran's leadership, quote, "dirty players," and used a medical metaphor, "we have to rid their cancer," before adding that his negotiators can still keep talking if they want. That contradiction, war rhetoric alongside an open door, is exactly why this story has everyone searching. Here is what is confirmed. On July 7th, 2 commercial tankers were struck by projectiles in the Strait of Hormuz. The first was the Qatari-owned LNG tanker, Al Rekayat. It suffered a major fire in its engine room and was at risk of exploding. The second was the Saudi-flagged supertanker Wedian. Both ships were badly damaged. No crew were killed. Then within 24 hours, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard struck a third vessel, a tanker off the coast of Oman, with a drone. Qatar publicly blamed Iran for the attack on its tanker. Saudi Arabia stated that Iran, quote, bears full responsibility for the strikes on shipping. In direct response, U.S. Central Command announced what it called a series of powerful strikes, hitting over 80 Iranian military targets. Those targets included air defense systems, command and control networks, coastal radar sites, anti-ship missile capabilities, and more than 60 IRGC small boats in and around the strait. The U.S. Treasury Department simultaneously reimposed oil sanctions on Iran, reversing a key waiver that had been built into the June peace framework. Iran's Revolutionary Guard then retaliated, claiming strikes on 85 U.S. military installations in Bahrain and Kuwait, targeting American air and naval bases. And the IRGC warned, and this is their own statement, that in the coming days they will, quote, retaliate in a harsher way. Here is what is still developing. Iran has not officially claimed responsibility for the July 7th ship attacks. Qatar and Saudi Arabia attribute them to Iran, and the U.S. military's response treated them as Iranian aggression. But no Iranian authority has stepped forward to claim those specific strikes. What the IRGC duty confirmed was its counterattacks on American bases in Bahrain and Kuwait. The extent of damage to those facilities is not fully confirmed. Iran also threatened a, quote, complete halt to nuclear negotiations if U.S. strikes continue. Whether that's a negotiating posture or a firm decision is unknown. Trump himself left a crack open, saying his team can keep talking, but he doesn't want to. What all of this means for the 60-day peace window in the Islamabad Memorandum is the central unknown right now. To understand why this moment matters so much, you need the backstory. On February 28th of this year, a joint U.S.-Israeli operation killed Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, in Tehran, along with dozens of senior Iranian officials. NPR and CNN confirmed it within hours of the strikes. That triggered a full-scale war. Iran blocked the Strait of Hormuz, launched missiles across the region, and hit American military bases. For months, the conflict escalated, but on June 17th, something that looked like a breakthrough happened. In Islamabad, representatives of the U.S. and Iran signed what became known as the Islamabad Memorandum, a 14-point framework that created a 60-day window to negotiate a permanent deal, including on Iran's nuclear program. The strait reopened. Oil prices fell. It genuinely looked for a few weeks like the worst crisis in a generation might be cooling, but the ceasefire was always fragile. Both sides traded strikes in late June. Iran threatened to walk away from talks multiple times. And what happened on July 7th, 3 ships hit as Trump was literally flying to the NATO summit, is being read by analysts across the political spectrum as the moment that framework cracked. The 60-day window in the MOU does not expire until mid-August. Whether that window survives this week is the question. Here's my read. And I'm labeling this clearly as analysis, not reporting. What we're watching is a fragile peace that neither side was fully invested in. The United States launched a war in February, removed Iran's supreme leader, and then needed a way to wind it down before the cost grew unmanageable. Iran signed the Islamabad MOU under extreme military pressure. Neither party to that MOU was ever truly at peace. They were at pause. The second there was a provocation, 3 tankers in a waterway. The pause broke. The 60-day window doesn't close until mid-August. But the real question isn't the calendar. It's whether any leader in Washington, Tehran, or Ankara is willing to de-escalate right now in public while the other side is still shooting. History says that once you're here, once the missiles are already flying and the rhetoric is this hot, it is very hard to back down. Here's what to watch. Trump says negotiators can still talk. Watch whether they actually do. Iran has threatened to halt talks entirely. Watch whether that threat holds. The NATO summit in Ankara ends Wednesday. Watch whether the joint statement backs U.S. military action or calls for de-escalation. Oil markets open higher overnight. The Strait of Hormuz handles roughly 20% of global oil, and any supply disruption ripples everywhere fast. And in Tehran, whoever has filled the power vacuum after Khamenei's death has to decide how hard to hit back. The next 48 to 72 hours are the window where this either cools or escalates into something much larger. Here's the quick, honest recap. 3 commercial ships were attacked in the Strait of Hormuz on July 7th. Qatar and Saudi Arabia blame Iran. Iran has not officially claimed it. U.S. Central Command struck over 80 Iranian military targets in response. Iran's Revolutionary Guard counterstruck U.S. bases in Bahrain and Kuwait and threatened more. The U.S. reimposed oil sanctions on Iran. And President Trump at NATO in Ankara declared the ceasefire over, calling Iran's leaders scum, while leaving the door open a crack for talks. The June Islamabad MOU peace framework is under severe stress. This is actively developing. This is a developing news summary based on reporting from NPR, CNN, CBS News, Al Jazeera, PBS NewsHour, Gulf News, and U.S. CENTCOM statements as of July 8, 2026. This situation is actively evolving. Details may change. Tomorrow we're watching the NATO closing statement and whether Iran follows through on its threat to walk away from talks entirely. That is the story that decides whether this week ends in diplomacy or something worse. New breakdown every single day on Trending with Uchi. Hit subscribe so you don't miss it.